If you've been following the channel, you guys know I've been doing redraft series where I take a look at the last 10 draft classes and see whether or not teams would have drafted differently. And of course, it's a lot easier when you're doing a redraft of a class 10 years ago versus a draft that literally happened less than a year ago, because these players are so young, so early in their careers, still developing, and for some of them, they might not even be getting a ton of playing time because they're playing on teams looking to win now and maybe aren't as focused on project players. But be all of that as it may, we're going to be doing our best to redraft the class of 2022 in today's video, with the idea that we're going to be focusing more on potential while also factoring in what they've been able to do in their rookie season thus far. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy this type of content, then feel free to subscribe and hit that notification bell to help the channel grow, and in return, I'll be providing more NBA content like this. Now, unlike some of the prior draft classes where you had a clear consensus #1 pick or players being viewed as generational talents such as Zion Williamson, Ben Simmons, Andrew Wiggins, yes, these were all viewed and touted as generational prospects and consensus #1 picks, but for the 2022 draft, it wasn't clear. Leading up to the draft and going into the draft combine, most mock drafts had Chet Holmgren going #1 overall, who is the #1 overall recruit coming out of high school. There was also Jabari Smith Jr. that some pundits had as their #1 pick on the draft, and of course there was also Paolo Banchero, who was seen as the biggest player to rival Chet Holmgren for that #1 pick, Banchero being the #2 recruit coming out of high school overall. But really, hours up until the draft, there was no clear indication who the Magic were going to take with the #1 pick. And while Chet Holmgren obviously sounded appealing, given the Magic were already heavy at the 5, more specifically covered at the starting center spot in Wendell Carter Jr., the Orlando Magic decided to use their top selection to take Paolo Banchero. And I don't know how you can say that they were wrong there, especially considering Holmgren ended up getting injured and missing his entire rookie season. Granted, Chet could come back next season and start balling out and make the Magic regret taking Banchero at #1, but as of right now, Banchero has been everything as advertised and more. A strong big that has great footwork, can shoot it from outside, not on the best clip, 28% on near 4 attempts per game from deep, but a decent mid-range game, can finish around the rim, has struggled a little with his overall consistency. He did hit a bit of a rookie wall mid-season, but has since picked it back up. That consistency will come with time. Only 20 years old. He can crash the boards, is actually a decent passer for a 4. He leads all rookies in scoring at near 20 points per game. He's arguably already the Magic's best player in just his rookie season. I see a lot of upside potential, maybe not a superstar level player, but a future multiple-time All-Star that is a great franchise cornerstone for the Magic. Thus, I'm having the Magic keep their selection here and drafting Paolo at #1 overall. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder had the second pick in the draft, and of course, with Chet being available at #2, when a lot of analysts and scouts pegged him to go #1, the Thunder jumped at the chance to draft him to OKC and continue to build on the young talent and core that they're developing with a budding superstar in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But unfortunately, he suffered a season-ending injury to his right foot playing in a pro-am game, which pro-am games were all the rage this past offseason. We'll see how many players actually opt to play in these types of games and risk getting injured, as Chet did. But just unfortunate for Chet as he kicks off his career, a player that has a ton of promise and a lot of hype coming out of high school. And while it's really unfair to do a redraft and not include someone like Chet Holmgren, who very well could be the best player from this draft when all is said and done, given the fact he hasn't played this season and the injury concerns in general for Chet with his slender frame, instead I'm going to go with the Oklahoma City Thunder taking Jaden Ivey, who ended up going 5th overall to the Pistons. The fact that the Pistons walked away from this draft, getting Ivey at number 5, when everyone thought that he was going to go 4, and then they traded to get Jalen Duren as well, is such a big come up for them. Not to mention the fact that they got Cade Cunningham the year before in the draft, who I know was injured, has been injured most of the season, but I do still view him as a future franchise player. But anyway, Jaden Ivey has really impressed in his rookie season. Now, like Banchero, you also have to factor in that these guys are putting up good numbers on bad teams. Like the Pistons are literally the worst team in the NBA. But Ivey, with his ability to be a versatile scorer, both inside as well as developing his jumper since the beginning of the season, dude has insane athleticism with crazy highlight reel dunks. You combine that with his solid passing and court vision as a 2-guard. I know the fit here doesn't really make a ton of sense in that OKC already has Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but SGA has been playing point more recently, and Ivey and SGA as a backcourt for the future would have me excited if I'm a Thunder fan. The biggest thing for Ivey right now is being more efficient with his shooting and overall shot selection, but like the rest of these guys, they're all rookies. It'll come with time. With the third pick, this is where the Rockets selected Jabari Smith Jr. Some thought he would potentially go #1, felt all the way to 3. And while Jabari has been impressive for the Rockets, and you can see the overall potential in him, especially on the defensive end, it's really just his inconsistency and poor efficiency when he's on the court that has been somewhat disappointing. But you have to remember he's one of the youngest of this draft class, having not even turned 20 yet at the time of this recording. So instead, I'm going to have the Rockets select Bennedict Mathurin here. Mathurin has had such an impressive rookie season that he really should be going higher. It's just more so recently that he's been hitting a bit of a rookie wall that we see from players. Mathurin, who wasn't as heavily recruited as some of the other top picks, was taken 6th overall by the Pacers and is one of these guys that is an insanely hard worker, has so much confidence in himself, so much so to the point that it can be perceived as cocky. You watch him play, even in big moments, he plays like a veteran, being calm and collected under pressure. Great scorer, great handles, can adjust well in midair. Needs to improve at that 3-point shot though, shooting 32% at 4 attempts per game. But either way, I like this pickup for the Rockets, as Mathurin would be that scorer that they were kind of hoping to see from Jabari Smith Jr. With the 4th pick, this is where the Sacramento Kings selected Keegan Murray, which a lot of people criticized. They felt it was a stretch taking Murray that early, especially with Jaden Ivey still on the board. And while I do think they would have been better off selecting Jaden Ivey, you also can't deny that Murray has been great for them. A little older for a rookie, he's going to be 23 this summer, but with that comes a little more maturity, better composure in big moments, and he's a solid contributor for the Kings in the starting lineup, a team that's one of the top teams in the Western Conference. That being said though, I'm not having Murray go this high in a redraft. Instead, we're going to have the Kings take Jalen Williams, who was a late lottery selection at number 12 by the Thunder, and while he wasn't getting much playing time to start the season, has quickly blossomed into the success story for the Thunder, who were without their number 2 pick in Chet Holmgren. But Williams has shown an ability to be a great two-way player in the NBA, being arguably one of the best defenders from his class while also improving on his overall scoring. The guy just has a great all-around skill set that a lot of teams would covet in his ability to do so much and impact the court in meaningful ways. Williams going 12th overall was really quite a steal for the Thunder, and why I have him going so high in a redraft. With the 5th pick, this is where the Pistons selected Jaden Ivey, but since he's already off the board here, I'm actually going to have them take Walker Kessler. Look, I know the numbers don't jump out at you, and sure, you could argue he maybe doesn't possess the same level of potential as some of the other guys that I have going after him, but this dude can play, and I still can't believe the Wolves gave up 4 unprotected picks and Kessler for Rudy Gobert. Just insane to me. But Kessler, just as a lot of people expected from him, given he was one of the best shot blockers in the NCAA, is a phenomenal rim protector, great rebounder, especially on the offensive glass to give you second chance opportunities. Great finisher at the rim with his post-up game. Like, the guy literally leads the entire league in field goal percentage at 72%. It's on low volume, I know, only 5.5 attempts per game, but the guy rarely misses when he puts up a shot. And I know advanced stats aren't always the best when assessing a player's true impact, especially when you consider that advanced stats are usually correlated to a team's overall play. But Walker Kessler does lead the entire class, both in box plus minus as well as value over replacement player and win shares, and I mean so by a wide margin in each of these. The only reason I don't have Kessler a little higher either is because I don't see as much star potential coming from him compared to the other guys I have 1 through 4. With the 6th pick, this is where the Pacers selected Mathurin, but since he's off the board, I'm going to have them select Keegan Murray here, who went 4th overall. And I still really like Keegan's game, especially considering how well he shoots it from 3, currently leading all rookies in 3-point shooting percentage at 41%. On over 6 attempts per game, which is actually some of the best 3-point shooting in the entire NBA. But not only that, he's continued to improve defensively as well, showing he's capable of being a great two-way player or a 3-and-D wing, which are so highly coveted in today's NBA. And I like this pickup for Murray to pair him with the likes of Tyrese Halliburton over in Indy. With the 7th pick, this is where the Blazers selected Shaedon Sharpe, another player who hasn't even turned 20 yet. Some people felt it was a bit of a stretch to take him that high, considering he didn't play at all in college, but he's actually been very solid for the Blazers in an otherwise lost and directionless season for them. And while I would still have Sharpe being a lottery pick in a redraft, I wouldn't have him going top 10. Instead, the Blazers are going to take Jalen Duren, who is actually the youngest player of this draft. He was only 18 when he started playing in his first games in the NBA. And look, the Blazers need a new center. Nurkic doesn't cut it in terms of his overall defense and poor footwork in the paint, but Duren, a young, up-and-coming big that possesses the speed, footwork, rebounding ability, and shot blocking, and doing so at just the age of 19, I might be a little more high on Duren than most because I know he's not an elite level scorer, but I can't wait to see what comes from this kid as he continues to work on his game in the future. With the 8th pick, this is where the New Orleans Pelicans selected Dyson Daniels. I like Daniels. I do still see potential coming from him despite an otherwise underwhelming rookie season, but even still, I'm not taking him that high. Instead, I like Jeremy Sochan here, who the Spurs picked up with the following pick at number 9. Sochan is just a fierce competitor, gives it his all when he's on the court, big time hustler, a pest on defense, has a lot to work on when it comes to his overall offense, but even that he's improved more recently with his scoring in the paint. I'm all about big time hustle players, and I like the selection for the Pelicans, who are kind of in need of those high energy guys on their roster. With the 9th pick, of course, this is where the Spurs selected Sochan, but since he's off the board, we're going to have the Spurs take Jabari Smith Jr. here. Kind of a big fall for Jabari, I know, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's been very inefficient and hasn't been as impactful on the court as you would have hoped if you're a Rockets fan. That being said, he's still one of the best players from this draft class. With time, development, and discipline, I do think he could become one of the better scorers in the NBA. And you put him on a team like the Spurs with Coach Popovich, who is great at player development, you likely would see more success coming from Smith than what you're seeing right now. But even in his rookie season, still a solid scorer, a great rebounder with a lot of upside, and it's why I still have him going top 10, even in an underwhelming rookie season relative to his draft position. And then finally at number 10, this is where the Wizards selected Johnny Davis, who has really barely played for them. He's not going 10 here. Instead, the Wizards are taking Tari Eason, who the Rockets actually took 17th overall, which absolutely killed me because for my Bulls, I really wanted Eason. Thought he would be this great pickup for the Bulls and a fit that they would need to add some depth at the 4, but he gets selected right before the Bulls are on the clock, and it's clear now Eason probably should have gone a little higher. A great all-around player, has shown great flashes on defense with his ability to get in passing lanes. He's also shown his versatility in scoring. He takes care of the ball well, and I see great upside coming from Eason. And the Wizards, who kind of haven't really been going anywhere for years, just remaining in mediocrity, this would have been a great pickup for them to build out a younger core. Anyway, there you have it. Redrafting the 2022 draft class way too early, of course, but let me know where you guys would have drafted differently in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.